Hey everybody, I am DL Golden.
And I am SF Rogers, and joining us today is Erica Christie. Hi, Erica. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm really excited to be here. And as our lovely hosts mentioned, I'm Erica. Erica P. Christie is my author name, but Erica Christie is my name. And I am a legally blind artist, author, wife, mom, and fellow chaotic human out of Wisconsin.
Ooh, fun.
Yes, I have a lot of hats. I own a metaphysical shop that's geared toward making spirituality accessible for the blind. Like I put tarot and braille and
Cool.
herb labels. I actually just posted a bunch of videos on my TikTok of me brailing the Green Witch Tarot for someone who ordered it, and I had a lot of fun putting it in braille. So yeah, so I do that, but my main excitement is that I finally published the book that I've been writing since I was a small child. So that's exciting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Exciting. So tell us, let's just start out with who are you and what is it that you write?
Well, who am I is kind of a big question because I'm a lot of things, chaotic and flawed, but I'm doing my best to be a good human and treat people with kindness. But as I kind of dabbled in mentioning before, I'm a legally blind artist and author. And I say currently because who knows what my ADHD chaotic brain will have me write in the future. But I chaotically and currently wrote a medieval paranormal psychic romantasy novel.
Ooh.
And
Ooh.
I feel that saying the word psychic is very important because I'm legally blind. I really tried tapping into your other senses through the story. So there's a lot of things that happen psychically. So
Sounds
Yeah.
very easy to fit into the genres on Amazon.
it does. It's fitting. Currently I'm sitting at like 6,000th in paranormal psychic romance. So,
Hey, that's better than sitting at 2,000,001, right?
you know what? You're right. Because there's a lot of us out here writing
There's
books. So
a lot of us.
yeah, there are. And I'm proud of all of us too. I think independent authors are just a show of how beautiful our brains are and how creative people are and how writing really mirrors what we're all going through inside and out in our external world and in our internal world. So I think it can mirror a lot of things in our experience. So it's good we're all writing our books.
Awesome. So, what got you started on your writing journey? Did you like to read a lot? I know you're blind, so you read Braille, but did you
Braille
like
and audiobooks, yep.
Braille and audiobooks? So, did you develop a love for reading and just wanted to write something that you wanted to see out in the world, or how did that get going?
Not exactly. Content warning, things might get a little heavy, but I started writing actually because I was abused as a child.
Okay.
And so writing became survival for me. So did reading. Like escaping into books and escaping into other worlds because I was not mature enough to handle what was going on in my own was how I coped and how I survived. And then as I got older, the characters in my book started kind of mirroring other aspects of my healing. So like, for example, when I started dating and wondering if I was queer, I would write about those kinds of things with my characters, and they are who taught me what safe relationships should feel like and what it should feel like for me to be loved, since I wasn't really taught some of those valid lessons from my parents, growing up. So they really kind of helped shape me emotionally. And then as I just continue through life, they kind of started reflecting back some other lessons. And so I just kept exploring and I kept writing. And then as I matured, my book matured. I used to say it was nothing but pork swords earlier, but now it's a little bit of pork sword and some plot. So my book has really matured with me as I've matured. And so that, writing was survival and then it became healing. And it continues to be healing for me now.
That's
Well,
awesome.
that's amazing.
Yeah. You can't sucker punch someone because of your abuse taught you to only be angry. That's not a valid way to process emotion. So sitting down and writing and being like, this is what anger feels like in my body. This is how I can get through this. This is how, and obviously I've been in counseling a long time. And so I've done a lot of the work, but there is some of my healing that will always go towards the characters in this book because they understood me from a time when I didn't even understand myself.
Right, and that kind of raw emotion and coping with how things have been in your life and pouring that into your work is what really makes for good artwork, I think. And so that's absolutely incredible. Awesome job.
I want two things from my book. My goal with these two things with it are for number one, if you are not sure what romantic love should feel like, I hope to God you know after reading my book. And second is I want to create a book where people can escape their problems for just a little while. There is
Yes.
obviously so much in this world that we have to be responsible for. It's a full-time job taking care of your body. It's a full-time job managing a relationship. It's a full-time job being at work. It's a full-time job being a parent, having a house, etc. Your fitness, your health, all these things. And it's so much to carry, and the pressure of it all is immense and exhausting. And so as a writer, I just want people to be able to escape. I wanted to make a place where people could run to for a while.
That's awesome.
I think that's where a lot of people end up coming from, is that you want a place that feels a little bit better than the world that you're currently living in. And I think putting that kind of thing into your story really makes for something that people can relate to and fall in love with. And so I think that's absolutely incredible.
I'm really excited about it. It's very vulnerable sharing these pieces of me, but as long as I can help somebody feel better or somebody channel their darkness, because, I've had to channel a lot of my darkness through writing a dark romantasy, whatever, It's how I healed. It's how I processed my anger. It's how I transmuted it.
That's
So if I can help somebody else realize that that's how they should process, or if they can escape for a while, or if they can be absolutely smitten with Everett and his love chaos, then I've done my job. I've done my job.
right.
So let's do the plug then. What is the name of the book? What's it about? Tell us about it.
Sure. Can I show the cover? Will you guys be able to see it?
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh, okay, perfect. Let me know if I need to move it at all.
Oh my goodness.
So it's the cover. Just I'll do a little photo description since I'm blind and there might be other blind folks listening. So my cover is various shades of purple in the sky and then some green grass-ish stuff in the bottom. Lots of clouds. There is a black anatomical heart, and then there are 3 instruments, I guess, pointing through the heart. There's a sword in the middle, a cherry blossom tree on the right, and a hammer on the left. I may have had those backwards. I'm sorry.
That is so it's just eye-catching. It's just
It
makes you think. You look at it and it just makes you think whoa.
It's based off the 3 of Swords in tarot. For those who know tarot, it's based off the 3 of Swords. But my best friend, Brady's husband, actually drew the cover for me.
Oh,
so a lot of friendship went into the creation of my book too, which I'm very thankful for. So he drew the cover, and it's based off the 3 of Swords in tarot, because the 3 of Swords in tarot is about betrayal and sadness and heartbreak. And so if you read tarot and you look at the cover, you already might be able to kind of wager what it's about, that there's some sad themes. So the book is called The Barriers Between, Volume 1, Hammer and Heart. And it is about a goddess of death called Nomica, and she is ascending in the astral plane to become the new goddess of death in her realm where the pantheon isn't totally solidified, and there is some once trusted deities who reveal that they're not so trustworthy, and so she is trying to become the new goddess of death. And then there is this book is dual perspective because it also follows the point of view of the commander of her military. His name is Everett, and so the story goes back and forth between their points of view through this one. And it's just the first book in a series, so I don't know how many books it'll be. I mentioned I'm chaotic. I fly by the seat of my pants. So
it'll be as long as it needs to be, right? Like
yeah,
that's the joy of indie. The
Yeah.
series will go as many books as we need it to go. So I guess that kind of answers our like the next question we would ask, like, are you a plotter or are you a pantser? You just create the characters and drop them in?
So yes and no. So the three main characters, Nomika, Everett, and Kyoko, are like the three energies who I probably wrote with the most while I was growing up and dealing with my abuse. Like Kyoko especially was in many stories for me growing up. So those three needed to make an appearance. And then when I decided that I was going to turn this into a fantasy novel because of how much I love magic and fantasy and everything, I, kind of built the world a little bit. But I always knew that it was going to take place in a realm called Crossfire, and that and that Nomika is, the goddess of death there, and that the rest of it, I just kind of implemented from other parts of my healing journey, I guess, if that makes sense. So I'm a little bit of both, and my best friend Brady yells at me for being too much of a pantser. I say yelled lovingly. He's never actually raised his voice at me ever. But he's always like, you gotta, at least make an outline, Erica, or maybe put 5 minutes into it. And I'm like, no, I gotta write 17 paragraphs about Kyoko's purple kimono. 1 second. I will get back to you on an outline. So
and here Daniel and I are like, here's the characters, here's the world, here's a weapon. What do you do with it? Like, drop them in the world and let them go.
I like that. That actually, you know what? That's kind of cool though, because you don't really know what you're stumbling into then, and you're just gonna let the story breathe and take you where it wants to take you. And I think that's really cool. I love that.
Yeah, it feels like very natural storytelling as opposed to the systematic storytelling that a lot of people get into, that it has to have A, B, C, D. Sarah and I both tend to fall into the category of pantser, where we have an idea of where A is and where Z is, but everything in between is this amorphous kind of thing until they get moving. And so,
what kind of genres do you guys write?
So my genre right now, I write lit RPG. So all of my things
No way.
are Sword Art Online-esque type stuff. And Sarah, I'll let you speak for yourself here.
I write fantasy and romance. So.
Yeah, get it. Woo!
Yeah, girl, yeah.
But some lit RPGs are super good. Are we allowed to swear? I almost dropped the F-bomb. I don't know.
I'll just put a disclaimer on it on YouTube and Spotify, so you're fine. You're fine.
Okay, perfect.
We have never censored.
But some of the lit RPG books are super good, like the Wandering Inn series, amazing. So yeah, I have mad respect for lit RPG too, especially because I feel like you have to, on top of building a world, you are building a gaming system and extra mechanics into the world. I think that takes a lot of brain power, so that's super cool.
I wouldn't give me that much credit for brains, I promise. But it is definitely an interesting genre to keep myself writing in.
That's really cool.
So, coming to just writing in general, you said you started writing when you were young. Being legally blind, it's got to be a bit of a challenge to get into writing. How did you go about that?
So I first started writing in big Sharpie markers, like the big black Sharpie markers in a purple spiraled notebook, one of those like 70 count notebooks. But I quickly learned that I couldn't read my own handwriting. Once I wrote it all down, I was like, ooh, these blobs are pretty. Like, I don't... Nomika's doing something in chapter 11, but I don't know what. Anyway, so I decided to start writing things in Braille. And that came with an added bonus because then nobody could read my stuff. Like, it was very private, and I could only share it with people when I was ready, and I kind of liked that protective element that Braille gave me. So I'd start writing in Braille. And then I actually use an electronic Braille device that's called an Apex. I have it on my lap if people want to see it. Mm-hmm. But it's a refreshable Braille display. And that's what I use primarily to write this book. But then transcribing it back and forth as I was editing from print to braille to print to braille to print to braille was chaotic as hell. It was, and the formatting went to shit. It was, oh my God, it was
Remind me to never complain about editing again. Like, to never complain about editing.
Word.
Also with braille. So here's some more fun stuff about braille. So braille has a lot that's written in shorthand. They're called contractions. So like, for example, the letter K in braille is the word knowledge by itself. So if you just see the letter K by itself hanging out in the middle of a sentence, you're like, Bob has K. You're like, he's got knowledge. Okay, perfect. So when I was transcribing and I put my book in print, my spelling was awful. It was terrible. And that's probably one of the things that slowed us down the most, was having to unteach me spelling patterns that I kept just misspelling, because in braille it just was a symbol. So I didn't pay attention to how it was spelled. And like, I can read print and all that, but braille is my primary preferred language code. If I could have everything in braille, I would prefer it that way. So, but obviously that's not how our world works yet. So yeah, I say yet because we got to have hope. But yeah, so my spelling is shit. So that took a lot of editing and chaos, but so I started writing in notebooks with Sharpie, decided that was terrible, switched to braille, and I have my electronic braille display, and I can't write my next book on it though, because I cannot do all that formatting. I cannot do that again. It was anxiety inducing, and I cannot.
Hindsight's 2020 every time.
Yep, even when you're blind, your hindsight is still 2020. So yeah, I'm currently writing my next book in a Google Doc. So if either of you have suggestions on, a better formula for me, I'm all ears.
Well, we are trying to figure that system out ourselves. We've moved through several different formatting softwares. We've settled on a few like things like Vellum and Atticus as for formatting, but writing, both of us are all over the place. I write directly in Vellum. Sarah writes in Scrivener, and then
I don't even write in Scrivener. I write in Google Docs.
Yeah, okay. So
I write in Google Docs because my alphas can go in and leave me comments, and I'm like, okay, I can fix that.
Oh, that's actually, I didn't even think about that. That's actually totally fair. Huh.
Yep.
Cool.
So,
maybe I'll stay in my Google Doc then.
So your book is published already, correct?
Yep, it's out. There are a few places you can get it. So obviously it's on the Slamazon. And Kindle Unlimited. Mm-hmm. And then there are a few bookstores. You can get it on things, like Barnes and Noble's like website or things like that, because they have access to Ingram Spark. And then there's a couple indie author bookstores who carry it. So if you live in the Kenosha, Wisconsin area, because that's where I'm from, or live, you can find it at Studio Moonfall. But then here on TikTok, you can get it at Black Cat Reads. You can get it at Rubber Rose Books, and you can get it at Shelf Love Atlanta. So those are the places where it's currently available. Hoping it'll come into more places as we grow. But, I'm very thankful for all these indie author bookstores who are out here supporting us. Like, they're like, yes, give us your books. We want them.
Love a good indie author bookshop. You said your book is in print, obviously, for the general public. Did you also publish it in Braille, or is there a way to publish it in Braille? That's not something I'm familiar with.
So I'm trying to figure that out yet, because I'm actually planning on calling the Library of Congress here in the States this week to talk to somebody about it. But the issues I've run into so far is that the National Library Service, when it comes to transcription, is more hesitant to transcribe self-published books. And I'm not sure why that is. I don't know if it's a factor of that we don't simply have the infrastructure to be doing that and to put books in Braille, because when you think about how many thousands, if not millions of books come out every, year, every 2 years, whatever, we just might not have the actual infrastructure to be transcribing all those into Braille. So I'm still trying to figure out how to get my book in Braille. And as soon as, and I'm planning on keeping everyone appraised of the journey, because if I can do it, then more of us can do it, and then more of our books can become accessible to everybody.
Yeah, and that accessibility, I'm sure, is a massive thing for the blind community and things like that. And so we're all for making sure stuff is accessible. That is not something we have ever had to contend with. And
Yep.
so it is interesting to learn that there are other paths you have to follow in order to get that stuff through.
Now,
Yep. Go
ahead.
ahead. No, you go ahead.
Now, we both did get audiobooks because we ran into things at conventions where people wanted an easier way to access our book because they were blind, or they couldn't physically hold a book, or however. So Daniel and I both went the audiobook route, but like being able to open it up even more would be so cool. Like just to be able to have that accessibility.
Yes, and audiobooks are ride or die. I love audiobooks.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody told me, because I am trying to get mine produced. I have a really good friend. She's here on TikTok. Her name is The Unhinged Court. She is a Dungeons and Dragons DM, and she is narrating my book for me. And yeah, I'm very thankful that she is doing it, because I didn't know until I like started the process just how expensive it is to produce an audiobook. And that hurdle makes it inaccessible to then have audiobooks. And I get why I understand the pricing it is, because you have to, the narrator, and then the editing and all of that. So I absolutely understand why it has the price tag it has, and I'm not devaluing that. But as an independent author, especially, for someone like me who doesn't really have another means to be able to pour thousands into getting an audiobook right off the bat, it just makes it seem very daunting. And then it's hard for a lot of us, to get then our books in audiobook form.
And we do have some comments in the comment section down below that are saying once you get in contact with the Library of Congress, they can also help you produce audiobooks. So that might be something to look into. We will check more comments as we go here, but just so you know, we are so we might not reply right away.
Yeah. So I want to just address the Library of Congress helping with audiobooks. So that was something I looked into. And the reason I decided to ask my friend from the UK to please, with her beautiful voice, narrate instead, was because when you're going to have someone like Able or the Library of Congress produce those, you don't really get to control who your narrator is.
Right.
No.
You don't get that creative freedom of, so like for me, for example, because my book is masculine and feminine is the main voices, I wanted a feminine voice to narrate because, and this just might be because I have sensitive ears, so I don't know, you can judge me for this, I don't know, but for me, I would rather hear a feminine voice do my masculine character than a masculine voice do my female character. That is just, that's just how I feel. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry. It's fact.
I always picture the dad from Brave when he's like, I want to ride through the woods and shoot my arrows. Like, I picture that.
Or Christopher from Gilmore Girls when he's like, I can't help it. My wicked stepsister voice is just that good,
Yes.
Yeah, and obviously, and I have heard some very talented, narrators who can do both sides of the coin. I know they're out there. It's just, I have poured my literal soul into this book, and I knew I was going to be a picky bitch over who narrated it. And I just knew that about myself, and I knew that the Library of Congress may not be able to provide the exact voice that I was looking for. And
Right.
and so the fact that my friend Isabel is willing to narrate for me is just beautiful. Also, she's British. Like, she's British.
Love.
My book was written British. I didn't really mean for it to be, but like when you're writing in like the medieval fantasy, who are you going to be? British or Scottish or Irish or some sort of ish. Like, that's what's going to happen. Like, or maybe Australian, but like, it's going to happen. for me anyway, that was what was going to happen. So the fact that I have somebody who's authentic to that accent, who was willing to narrate, was just chef's kiss for me. I was like, sold. Can you please do it? Like, please, please, please.
Well, and it's important that you put down those boundaries of what you want, because a lot of times when we get into publishing books as indie authors, you kind of take the advice of every single person you talk to, and your vision can kind of get morphed by those people. There's a reason that we publish as indies. You want that full control over how things go. And so when we are talking about a voice actor, for example, I had multiple people come in and do tryouts for the voice of the book before I finally settled on Miranda. I wanted a person that had a more feminine voice for the story I was telling. And so it's really important that you say, this is what I want, and you stick to it, and you're not just bullied into taking whatever is thrown at you because it's the cheapest or the easiest option.
Yep. And so I'm thankful that, the Library of Congress is willing and able to help, produce some of that. But because I have the village I have and the people I have who are willing to help me narrate, I just had to go for it and ask her, and I'm very thankful she's doing it. So,
Right.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
So we are coming up close to the end here, and we always ask, what is your favorite piece of writing advice to give to someone who is just starting out doing this?
Well, besides have fun, like, writing should be fun, and if it's not fun, then reevaluate. So besides that, my biggest piece of advice is think about your soul and your core, and what sort of things make you feel the biggest emotions that you can feel. No matter what your emotional depth is, whether it's a teaspoon or a tea kettle, what makes you feel deeply angry, deeply happy, deeply sad, deeply joyful, and find ways to weave those elements into your story. And if you can make your story relatable to your life, or teach others about something that you're going through along the way, then that's perfect and great. But it should be fun, and it should be healing, and it should be emotional. Writing should be emotional. You are not seeing something on a screen. You're not seeing something physically in front of you while you are reading. Even if you're reading a physical book, you're seeing everything that's happening in here, in your brain, in your mind's eye. So you have to really tap into emotions to really make people feel. That's, I feel like, one of our biggest jobs as writers, is that our job is to make people feel things they would not normally feel. So do some reflecting on your own life and find out what makes you feel the biggest feelings, and how can you channel those creatively into a story, and have fun along the way.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Have fun and channel those emotions.
Yes, we encourage big feelings here. we want your big feelings.
I have a friend who messaged, she'd just finished my book, and all I got back was, Sarah, it is 10 a.m. on a Sunday. And I was like, okay. She goes, why am I crying over a character? I was like, I'm sorry, not sorry. Like,
you're like, perfect, I did my job. That was what I wanted. Not that I'm not trying to say I'm a sadist who wants people to cry, but
I wanted you attached to them.
Yes, but I wanted your heart in my story. I wanted your soul and your emotions invested in the world that I'm creating and pouring myself into. And so if we can make you feel some of that and it comes out your eyes, well,
there you go.
That comes back to, if you're not putting your soul and your heart into your story, you might as well be using ChatGPT to write it.
And while ChatGPT can write some hilarious things, it's just not going to land. There's, the humanity isn't there, the experience isn't there, the lived, the culture, the everything, it's not there. So with artificial intelligence writing your stories, there's only something there's something really special that the human experience can bring.
Yep.
Yep, and that is absolutely beautiful. I appreciate that piece of advice. I really, really like that. We are rounding off to the end here. So, where can everyone find you? Name the book again. Plug away.
All right. Y'all can find me here on TikTok, but you can search Erica P. Christie, but you also may have to search my shop, which is called Witchin, so WITCHIN, and then an apostrophe, and then good, GOOD, and then time like the herb, THYME, because my shop does tarot. I host art venues and like art shows in my area. I do all sorts of chaos and stuff. So while you can find me just by searching Erica P. Christie, you can also find me by searching Witch and Good Time. You can search that on Facebook as well. I'm there too in the Book of Faces, but I'm here on TikTok. And I have a Discord that's called The Oracle, the Witch, and the DM, and you can find that too in my link tree and everything. And so yeah, and then the book again is The Barriers Between, Volume 1, Hammer and Heart. And again, you can find it on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited. You can find it at Black Cat Reads here on TikTok, Rubber Rose Books here on TikTok, and Shelf Love Atlanta here on TikTok. And then in Studio Moonfall, if you're in the Kenosha area, they're not on TikTok, and they really need to be, but they're not. So, but you can go in person and find it there too. And then obviously anywhere that has access to Ingram's, like Barnes & Noble's website and that kind of stuff.
Amazing. Perfect. I am and continue to be D.L. Golden. My book Origins and Odyssea are both out in print right now. Origins is also an audiobook. Currently working on book 3 and possibly working on a graphic novel version of the first book.
Hey!
So look out for Kickstarter stuff on that. If you guys are interested in that, and I'll throw it to Sarah.
I'm SF Rogers. I'm the author of Execration of Autumn. The sequel, Isolation of Winter, is set to release here the 1st of August. So if you are waiting with bated breath for that, I promise you're not going to have to hold it for too much longer. I do have Book Dragon finished. I am looking for Arkin Street team members. So if you are interested, holler at your girl. Discord, Patreon, all the things. As usual, we are the Author's Chaos. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.